You see, you broke the law.
Now let me finish. This is a jailhouse. Let's show some respect.
For more than 50 years, Ron Howard has been one of America's most beloved stars, the freckle-faced boy from The Andy Griffith Show, the charming teenager from Happy Days, and later the genius behind hit films like A Beautiful Mind and Apollo 13. But behind his calm, gentle smile was a man who carried painful memories he never fully shared, until now. It all began in 1973 when two of his co-stars, Harrison Ford and Paul Lumet, did something that would haunt him for the rest of his life. During the filming of American Graffiti, they bullied and humiliated him, calling him Opie, mocking his child star past, and even throwing bottles near his car. They locked him in a trailer and spiked his drinks as part of what he later described as Opie shaming. For decades, Ron stayed silent about it, burying the pain under years of professional success. But as he grew older, he realized that silence only protected the people who hurt him. In recent interviews, he's begun to open up, not only about that dark time but about the hidden struggles, accidents, and family battles that shaped him into the man he is today. Ron Howard's story begins far from the bright lights of Hollywood. Born on March 1, 1954, in Duncan, Oklahoma, Ron was the son of Rance and Jean Howard, both small-time actors struggling to make a living. Life was far from easy. Money was tight, and dreams often felt out of reach. But when Ron was only 4 years old, his parents made a life-changing decision. They packed everything they owned and moved to Hollywood, hoping to find better opportunities in show business. It was a huge risk, and they had no safety net. The family lived in a small house in Burbank, near a studio lot, where little Ron often watched actors and cameras from afar. Instead of a normal childhood, he grew up surrounded by lights, directors, and movie sets. When his father needed a baby for a short film scene, Ron was chosen. That was in 1956, his very first screen appearance in Frontier Woman. He was only 18 months old. No one could have guessed that moment would mark the beginning of a lifelong career. Still, his parents wanted to protect him. They refused long-term contracts, preferring he stay a kid first and an actor second, even when it meant living paycheck to paycheck. By the late 1950s, the Howards were barely surviving. Rance considered leaving Hollywood to become a farmer again, but the family held on. They pawned items and skipped meals to make rent. In 1959, things finally began to change when Ron, now 5 years old, landed a small but important role in the journey. For the first time, his name appeared in the credits. But fame came with its own challenges. On set, other crew members teased him about his red hair and freckles, calling him names that made him cry. His father defended him, nearly losing his job in the process. Yet, even through the cruelty, Ron learned something powerful, that kindness mattered more than fame. Just months later, in 1960, he auditioned for a show that would change his life forever, The Andy Griffith Show. Out of more than 300 children, his charm and innocence stood out. He got the role of Opie Taylor, and by the age of 6, he became one of the most recognizable faces on television. The series was an instant success, bringing warmth to American homes for 8 seasons. But while the audience saw a happy boy with a fishing pole, behind the scenes, Ron was dealing with the pressures of long working hours and the loss of a normal childhood. Ron's relationship with Andy Griffith was one of the most defining parts of his early life. Andy wasn't just a co-star, he became a mentor and father figure. He taught Ron about acting, patience, and humility. Between takes, Andy would tell stories, sing, and explain the deeper meaning behind each scene. But even Griffith had his demons. He struggled with mood swings and heavy drinking, which sometimes created tension on set. Ron, though just a child, witnessed moments of anger and frustration that confused him. Despite this, Andy protected him and treated him with love. In 1962, during a lake scene, 8-year-old Ron nearly drowned when a boat tipped over. Without hesitation, Andy jumped into the water and saved him. The producers kept it quiet to protect the show's image, but that day left a deep mark on Ron. It taught him about bravery, responsibility, and the importance of safety, lessons he carried into his directing career decades later. Years later, in a touching twist, Ron discovered that he and Andy were actually distant cousins, something neither of them knew while filming. It made their lifelong friendship even more meaningful. When the Andy Griffith Show ended in 1968, Ron was just 14. He expected his career to continue smoothly, but instead, he faced constant rejection. Casting agents only saw him as Opie and refused to give him more mature roles. He went to more than 50 auditions over 2 years, and was turned down every time. The once famous child star now found himself struggling for work. He took smaller TV parts and earned far less than before. His family's financial situation worsened again. Despite the challenges, Ron didn't give up. He focused on finishing high school and living as normal a life as possible. Around that time, he met a kind, smart girl named Cheryl Alley. They fell in love as teenagers, and even when rumors about her being pregnant spread through their school, they stood by each other. That early bond became the foundation of a marriage that would later last for decades. But the 1970s would test Ron in ways he never expected, through both heartbreak and humiliation. In 1973, Ron got a new chance at success when George Lucas cast him in American Graffiti. It was supposed to be a fun, nostalgic film about teenage life in the early 1960s. But behind the scenes, the atmosphere was anything but fun for Ron. Some of his co-stars, including Harrison Ford and Paul Le Mat, bullied him relentlessly. They mocked him for being a former child actor, called him Opie, and made cruel jokes about his clean-cut image. One night, they even threw bottles near his car and locked him inside a trailer as a prank. It left Ron humiliated and hurt. He tried to stay professional, never telling the director what had happened. Later, he described it as Opie shaming, the one time in his life when he truly felt small. The movie turned out to be a massive hit, earning millions and launching the careers of several actors, but Ron made only $10,000. Years later, Harrison Ford apologized, but the pain of that experience stayed with Ron. He later said it taught him to treat everyone on his film sets, from stars to crew, with respect, no matter their past or status. Through all the chaos, one constant remained in Ron's life: Cheryl. Their teenage love had matured into a deep, lasting bond. They got married on June 7, 1975, in a simple ceremony in Burbank that cost just $800. At the time, Ron was still struggling financially. He had delivered newspapers in high school, earning $150 a month, just to afford dates with Cheryl. When a car accident left him with medical bills and lingering pain, she supported him completely. Ron often calls Cheryl his good luck charm because shortly after their marriage, his life began to change again, this time for the better. He joined a new TV show called Happy Days, playing Richie Cunningham. The show became an instant hit and turned him into one of the most loved faces on television once again. But fame came with new challenges, and behind the laughter in 1950s nostalgia, the show's success created jealousy, greed, and tension that tested everyone involved. When Happy Days premiered in 1974, it quickly became one of America's favorite shows. Families gathered around their TVs every week to watch Ron Howard's character, Richie Cunningham, and his cool friend Fonzie, played by Henry Winkler. The chemistry between them was perfect, but fame can change people, and the network noticed that audiences were obsessed with Fonzie. By 1976, ABC executives even suggested renaming the show to Fonzie's Happy Days. That idea nearly ended Ron's career on the show. Feeling disrespected and overshadowed, he told producers he would quit if they went through with the name change. Fans soon learned about the issue, and thousands wrote letters demanding that the original title stay. The network backed down, and Ron stayed, but things were never the same. Fonzie became the higher-paid star, earning $75,000 per episode, while Ron made only $25,000. He later said this was the moment he realized he didn't want to depend on acting forever, he wanted to direct. Behind the laughter and applause, there were arguments, lawsuits, and resentment. Yet, Ron managed to stay calm and professional, focusing on learning everything he could about filmmaking from behind the camera. While still starring in Happy Days, Ron began working on his first short film, Deed of Daring Do, in 1975. It was a small project made with borrowed cameras and a tiny budget, but it showed his growing passion for directing. The film won a small prize at the Atlanta Film Festival, giving him confidence to continue. His first major directorial project came in 1977 with Grand Theft Auto. It cost just $600,000 to make but earned more than $15 million, a huge success for a young first-time director. From that moment on, Ron Howard's future shifted. Over the years, he directed some of Hollywood's most successful films, from Splash to Apollo 13, Cocoon, and A Beautiful Mind, which won him an Academy Award. Yet, no matter how famous he became, he remained humble, always crediting his parents and wife for keeping him grounded. He never forgot where he came from or the lessons learned from pain, humiliation, and hard work. Every success he achieved carried the memory of the little boy who once stood on a set, unsure of his place in the world. Now in his 70s, Ron Howard is finally speaking openly about his journey, not for sympathy, but to show that even those who seem to have perfect lives often carry hidden scars. He has spoken about the bullying, the near accidents, and the unfair treatment that shaped him. But rather than bitterness, his reflections are filled with gratitude. He credits his parents for teaching him resilience, his wife for giving him unconditional support, and his mentors for guiding him through the chaos of Hollywood. Ron's life is proof that kindness, humility, and patience can outshine fame and fortune. In a world obsessed with quick success, his story reminds fans that true greatness comes from character, not celebrity. The boy once called Opie grew into one of the most respected figures in film, not because he chased stardom, but because he never let fame change who he was. Today, as fans look back on his incredible 5-decade career, they see more than just a director or actor. They see a man who faced darkness, overcame it, and chose to live with grace. As Ron Howard looks back at his incredible journey, it's clear that fame was never his goal, storytelling was. Despite achieving legendary status as both an actor and director, Howard has always remained humble. He often says that the best part of filmmaking isn't the fame or awards, but the ability to move people's hearts. Over the years, he's learned that real success isn't measured in box office numbers but in the emotions his stories create. For Howard, every film has been a chance to explore human nature, whether it's the triumph of survival in Apollo 13, the inspiring genius of A Beautiful Mind, or the heartwarming charm of Parenthood. Each of these films carries pieces of Howard's personality, empathy, sincerity, and hope. In interviews, Ron often speaks about how deeply grateful he feels for his long career. He knows that Hollywood can be a tough place, where child actors often lose their way. But he credits his parents for keeping him grounded and focused. His father, Rance Howard, taught him that integrity matters more than fame, and his mother, Jean, made sure he enjoyed a normal childhood. Even after decades in the industry, Ron still follows their advice. He never let fame consume him. Instead, he stayed focused on telling real, human stories. That attitude made him one of Hollywood's most respected figures, admired not just for his talent but also for his character. Ron Howard's directing style has always stood out for its emotional depth and honesty. He doesn't rely on flashy effects or trends. Instead, he focuses on the human spirit. Films like Cinderella Man and Rush reveal his deep interest in resilience and redemption. He finds beauty in struggle and meaning in failure. That's why audiences connect with his work so deeply, because his films reflect real life, full of both pain and triumph. He once said that the most rewarding part of filmmaking is when people tell him a movie inspired them or made them cry. That emotional connection, he believes, is the true power of cinema. But behind that calm and thoughtful personality is a man who works tirelessly. Howard is known for his perfectionism, always arriving on set early, checking every detail, and encouraging his actors to give their best. Colleagues often describe him as patient, kind, and deeply respectful. He treats every member of his crew like family, believing that filmmaking is a shared journey. Even as a director, he never forgets what it felt like to be an actor, standing in front of the camera, feeling nervous and hopeful. That empathy helps him bring out the best performances from his cast. To Ron, filmmaking is not just about direction, it's about understanding people. Outside of Hollywood, Ron Howard's greatest joy has always been his family. He has been married to Cheryl Alley since 1975, a love story that has lasted nearly 5 decades. In an industry known for short-lived relationships, their marriage is a rare example of loyalty and mutual respect. Ron often credits Cheryl as his anchor, the person who helped him stay grounded through every high and low of his career. Together, they raised 4 children, including actress Bryce Dallas Howard, who has followed in her father's footsteps with great success. Ron takes pride in watching his daughter grow into a talented actress and director, and he often says that seeing her flourish means more than any award he's ever won. Howard has also embraced a quieter lifestyle as he's grown older. He enjoys spending time away from Hollywood's spotlight, focusing on family, nature, and personal projects. Even so, he remains deeply passionate about film. He continues to mentor young directors, encouraging them to pursue stories that matter. For him, legacy isn't just about the movies he made, it's about inspiring the next generation to create with honesty and purpose. As he moves into the later stages of his life and career, Ron Howard's influence continues to grow. Few filmmakers have managed to remain relevant across so many decades, evolving with the times without losing their essence. Whether he's behind the camera directing a blockbuster or sharing wisdom with young artists, Howard's impact on Hollywood is undeniable. His career stands as a reminder that kindness, hard work, and humility never go out of style. To millions of fans, Ron Howard is more than a celebrity, he's a symbol of consistency and class. From the freckled boy on the Andy Griffith Show to the visionary filmmaker behind modern classics, he's shown that it's possible to live a long, honorable life in an industry that often forgets its own heroes. And even now, as he steps back from the spotlight, his legacy continues to shine, not as a bright flash of fame, but as a steady light of inspiration that will guide storytellers for generations to come.